Almost 5 years ago now, I took on the challenge of building this custom cafe racer. I had no idea how much this would take, how much the build would just get crazier and crazier, and how much my attention to detail would force me to do things so many times that just made the build take longer and longer. Last year, I finally was able to get the bike running and tuned up to the point where I was able to take it for a quick ride on the street, but it wasn't quite done yet. I still had a few little details to finish, and it seemed like the last mile took the longest. A license plate mount was definitely first on the list, so I just made up something super clean and simple that I could mount to the rear of the swing arm. Once I had that done, I also wanted to swap out my brake master cylinder. I recently did a Brembo clutch master, and the brake master that I had just looked too big and bulky next to it, so I ended up picking up a matching Brembo RCS 19 brake master, which kind of is a win-win in terms of better performance, but also looks so much cleaner on the front of the bike next to the clutch master. It has been so good to be able to ride this thing the last little bit. I put a license plate mount on it, and I'm just tying up all of the final details on this bike to enjoy the last days of kind of warmish weather. This bike has been so much fun to ride. It's actually quite quick. The exhaust sounds amazing. It's just like, it's a blast. It's really, really fun. I know I had some issues at first with it kind of like stuttering at a certain RPM range or like at a certain throttle position. That's been actually pretty good. Like when the bike warms up, it's not even, I don't even notice it at all. It seems to just pick up totally fine. So yeah, it's definitely rideable. I'm just gonna finish all of my last little details. Like I said, I got the license plate mount on there. I still got to put some lights on there. I put a new clutch master cylinder. I got the Brembo RCS 19. This is then to match the clutch side here, so it kind of cleans up that front really easy. Makes it really nice and minimal, which is cool. I do have a clutch reservoir here, just to kind of like match and keep it really low profile, so I'll have to definitely watch that to make sure it always stays with some fluid in there. And then I cut these wires because I never put a plug in it. I put a plug in this one. I still have to do this side, but the reason being is that I'm taking this off and I'm gonna laser engrave my buttons here with what they are. So for example, like on off, this one controls the gauge, high beam. We got horn and signals over here. I can kind of remember, but it's nice to just have the icon there. A sticker would probably come off really easy, but I think laser engraving will be a really cool way to notate these buttons that we know exactly what we're doing. So yeah, those kind of things. I got a few other things I want to do, but we're just doing all the last little details on this bike to have it completely done to the point where it's like you can just fire it up at any time, take it for a ride. Everything works and everything's finished. So yeah, time to engrave these buttons. Here I have my right turn signal. This is the gauge controller and power on the left. And then we got horn, high beams, and left signal on the left-hand side. And it's pretty sweet having this laser engraved. This way it will never come off no matter how many times you rub your thumb across it. And it looks really cool. You can kind of see we did like a purple reddish color. You can choose a little bit of the color based on what temperature it engraves it at. And it's really nice to have that on. So I'm gonna throw these back on the bike. I also did a little signature at the bottom of the clutch cover. So we're gonna get that all back on the bike, and I'm just finishing off the last little pieces. So a couple other pieces I had to make for this bike, some of which you might have seen a little bit of already. The first being a kickstand. Because I put on the Ducati single-sided swing arm and raised the bike a little bit, I needed to make a longer kickstand. So I just took some 1-inch tubing, basically cut off the top of the factory kickstand and welded it onto a new tubing with a new foot, and it seemed to do the trick. The other was a chain guard. I didn't really like the Ducati chain guard. It was just this big plastic piece, and so I wanted to recreate something to suit the bike a little bit more. My brother Cal had actually 3D scanned the swing arm a while back and designed up something pretty clean and simple. Once I had the design, I 3D printed it just to make sure that it all fit the bike and it was what I wanted. And once I knew that it fit, I actually sent the drawings over to Metal Mart, where they were able to cut this all out and bend it up for me. So what I have now is this chain guard here made by Metal Mart. It looks a little bit funny because I designed some standoffs into it. That's what this is. Basically so that they can push this against the back gauge in their brake and then use it to measure where these bends are going to sit. So there's one kind of for each bend. And yeah, makes it kind of simple for them. So I just have to cut these off now, clean it all up, and then we can throw this on the bike. And it should fit because I got my 3D printed one on there already and that one fits. So yeah, see how this goes. Okay, so here's where things got a little bit distracted. The first is that I got a Skyline GTR, which is one of my favorite cars of all time, but it was another project that needed a lot of my time and kind of took away from me working on the bike. The second is this shop that I'm actually building the bike out of, which is primarily a youth program that I helped build a long time ago. And long story short, the program was on the brink of shutting down. Stuff got a little bit chaotic, and I pretty much had to step in full time to rebuild a lot of the program and keep things going, which has been really cool. I just haven't had the time to work on the bike, so it kind of just sat for a while. Winter came, and it just was not my top priority for a little bit there, at least until now. The weather's getting much better now. It's like springtime out here. It's beautiful. It's getting warm, and I think it's time to start riding this bike. So we've got it here in the shop. This is one of our shop cars, by the way. This is a Datsun 240Z that we're doing like a custom wide body on with a 2JZ. This is the Skyline that I've been building. I'm just waiting for the engine to be able to put that in and get it running. And then we got like all projects that a bunch of the guys bring in. But here is the bike, and I dropped off the chain guard and a couple pieces to get powder coated so we can finish that off. And I just have a few small little details that I want to finish. One being this tank. Because it's all black, I think it looks a little bit like a blob sometimes and doesn't really hold much of its shape, but it actually has like kind of contours to it if you look at it from this angle. And I want to try and like bring some of this out. So I want to do like a bit of a decal or some vinyl on the tank, and I want to try designing something of my own. I got some of this stuff. This is like a knifeless tape that you can put on the tank, then you put vinyl over top, and then you rip it up and it kind of like cuts the vinyl into the shape that you want. So I'm going to try and design something, see what I can do on this tank. So that's the next project. All right, so I think there's a few different ways I could do this. One of the main things I want to do is like bring out this line and kind of like help the tank look a little bit more squared off. So I could just like follow that line and do something like that. I could try and like follow that. Like that's kind of cool. A bit tricky to know where to do that, but that's not bad. And then you could always have like something like Suzuki. Bring that out a little bit. This is the knifeless tape. Now the question is, how thick do I do this line? I'm gonna try 2 different thicknesses. This is definitely my first time ever doing anything like this, and I'm not a pro at it, so now let's try a thick one. So I've got some vinyl now, and I'm gonna try and put this over top and see if I can cut out the shape that I need. Let's see how this goes. Ooh, it's working. That's cool. Okay, so here is option 1 with the bit of a thicker line. Obviously it's not the prettiest, being that I'd want to do it properly with like nice straight lines and stuff like that, but kind of how it's looking. I could also play around with where I end it, where I end this side, or maybe I end this side kind of like right up here somewhere and let the front half do a little bit more. Would kind of help with where your legs are rubbing on the tank. And I actually do like this part up here where it kind of adds a bit of a, it's almost like forward motion on the bike, which is kind of cool. This vinyl leaves a lot of residue. Okay, so imagine I did a better job of this line. It was more consistent. Imagine there wasn't all this extra residue left over, and that Suzuki was done properly. What do you guys think? Does it look all right? I think it does. I think I do like a little bit thinner of a line. Less is kind of more in that regard, as far as like, it doesn't so much take away from the bike, but it does do that job of adding some squared off dimensions to the bike, which I think is kind of cool. So I don't know, I might play around with this a little bit more, as far as like, I think I do like it ending here. Maybe this could come down a tiny bit further. Maybe I cut that too short. I'm gonna play around with this a little bit more and see what I can do. But I do think the thinner line is just a little bit cleaner, and it is, yeah, I think I like it. What do you guys think? Does that work with the bike? I think it's nice and clean and simple. Kind of just squares off the tank. And then at first I was gonna try and like do a digital copy and just make it for the other side, but I ended up just doing it by hand and trying to match it. And yeah, I ended up coming a tad bit lower because I found if you follow this line too high up here, it kind of looks funny with the logo. But I think it turned out all right. It's kind of cool, like even looking at it from here. Yeah, it's pretty sick. So cool to have that done. That took me actually quite a bit of time to do it properly, but yeah, I think it really adds to the bike and makes it look a little bit more complete, which is cool. So you'll notice, by the way, that I'm in our second shop here. This is because I got kicked out of the first one. There's too many projects in there, but not a bad space to work from. And then over here, we have our pieces back from powder coating. So I want to unwrap those and get those on the bike. But before I do that, I think I want to give it a little bit of a wash. It's nice and dirty after sitting for so long. So let's roll this thing out, give it a quick clean, and then we'll throw the rest of the powder coating parts on, and we'll pretty much be buttoning up this bike, which is pretty sweet. So been a long time coming to get to this stage, and it's kind of nice to be able to focus on the final details and see it all come together. Give a full card. So it feels so wild to finally be saying this, but this bike is officially complete. I have nothing left on my to-do list to finish. We got all the powder coated pieces back on there. We've got everything installed. I actually just took it for a quick little rip, and it feels so good to ride it, and it feels so cool just looking at this bike and seeing how cool it looks. I am so proud of this bike and what I've been able to build. This has taken so long, especially the last little bit. I don't know what took so long in that last little bit. It's like all those tiny little pieces that you don't realize add up, along with everything else going on in life. And it's taken me so, I've just been wanting to finish this bike for the last like year and a half, it feels like. And feels really, really good to finally have this done. And cool that I built this. That is so cool. I'm no bike builder. This is like the second bike that I've ever built. The reason why I started building bikes was because COVID happened and I needed something to do, and it was small enough to fit in the parking spot of my underground parking garage. And it's kind of cool that just starting, throwing myself into it, learning as much as I could. YouTube is the best to learn a whole bunch, and then people have been great with asking questions and all that. And with a little bit of fabrication experience, I've been able to pull together a bike that at least I think is really, really cool. I know a bunch of you have been following for this whole journey as well, and it's been really cool seeing your comments along the way and all the encouragement. And yeah, we're here. It's what a cool spot to be in, actually, to finally have this bike complete. What a cool bike. So I'm just going to enjoy the bike now. I'm gonna ride it for a little bit. The weather's pretty good, it's nice and warm, and it's time to just use the bike, ride it, and have fun. So yeah, it's done.